Look at you. You got your OPEX Morgantown shirt. I got I'm donning my West Virginia sweatshirt. You got your OPEX gear on. Uh,
Yes.
it's, I can think back to my West Virginia days and my glory days. Do you ever, do you ever reflect on life's experiences and just, how did you end up where you are today? And what were the impact of choices you made maybe 5, 10, 15 years ago, and now you're here today? You ever reflect on that at all?
Yeah, I do. I think probably as of recently, probably more because I've been in a stage of trying to learn that things happen in a reason, for a reason, and it's directing you in a path that you are supposed to go.
You never know, but you never realize that in the moment, do you? I mean,
No.
it's like, I think back to some of the things, I'm with my wife Cynthia, 36 years this June. And I think back and I go, well, hell, if I didn't drop out of college my first time, right, when I was going through all this, I never would have been where I was, to meet her. And then I keep piling on, and then there's Jack, my first son, and Ryan and Sophie, and these people would not be a part of you would not be a part of my life. I wouldn't be here doing what I'm doing today. But you never realize, the choices you make and where they will ultimately lead you. I don't know. I've just been reflecting on that a lot lately. Knowing what is in my future. 2, 3 years down the road. It just got me in a reflective mode. So I was just curious.
Yeah. I mean, I think when I think back, I had one goal, and that was to play basketball. And then I said, if I can't play basketball, I'm going to coach basketball. And that was my own, like, since the time I can remember, like, even as a kid, I just was like, I'm going to play basketball. I'm going to play basketball. And then I did for a long time. And then it got to the point where I was like, well, I think I'm just going to coach basketball. And then I did that. So I never thought that I would end up here. I don't know. But I think thinking of it, what I liked like, I'm very thankful that I am here. I was kind of thinking about that this morning of just like the cool shit that my people have done in the past. Like, I've had a lot of clients do cool shit in the past 2 months.
Mm.
And, um, I think that's the feeling that I like. It wasn't necessarily the basketball. It was just like taking someone who was missing something or potentially was needed a fire lit under their ass or needed some direction in the basketball world, right? Because it was like 18-year-old girls that you're coaching. And
Yeah.
it was taking them to a place to where they're having 30-point games and being all conference. But I feel like I get a better sense of that now with normal everyday people going out and hiking 30 miles in one day on the Appalachian Trail, right? Is like that's cooler than taking a athlete and making them a better athlete. Even though I like to do that too. It's just cooler with gen pop, normal people that are working full-time jobs and have kids but still doing cool shit outside the gym that I helped them do.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really cool. And yeah, and just to be thankful where we are today, to be grateful for where we are today, and know that, our past, and almost rely on our past experience. So if we get in a funk where we are today, if we're maybe not satisfied or happy where we are today, and we want to move ourselves forward, we've got some history that we can rely on that says, hey, you've done hard things before, you can do them again. And sometimes I think our clients come in, right? Our clients come and in our process of understanding people when they come into us and what they'd like to achieve and how we can help them best. We start with, right, our consult or our assessment, and we find out where they are and where they want to go, and we help them do that. But oftentimes we don't know who's walking through our doors in the very beginning, right? And so our ability to discover that and go through that and then create a program to help them, I think part of what we're helping them do is mentally move forward as well, not only physically, but also mentally. So we talked yesterday about we had an idea of what we wanted to do. for this podcast today, and let's talk about different types of people that may enter our gym and how we as coaches respond and help them the best. And then, well, so we thought, well, here are maybe some people. And then you got cocky. You got cocky. You just said, instead of just putting out a plan of maybe different types of people, why don't you try to stump me? Or you didn't say, why don't you try to stump me? You just, well, what the heck? Let's stump Kayla. Let's try to stump Kayla. I said, well, that's even better. So this morning, you have no idea where I'm coming from. We haven't talked about this. I want to see how quick on your feet you are. I mean, you were a center, a forward, a down low, underneath. You weren't that point guard out there, bobbing and weaving and moving and all that kind of stuff. But let's see how nimble you are with identifying and prescribing the best way forward for different types of people that may walk into our gym. How's that?
Sounds good.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Oh, where do I want to start? Okay. Well, let's go here. So, a 68-year-old woman walks into the gym and just needs help. But through the consult, you discover, man, that she's not done living, man. She is not. Now, life has dealt her some a poor health situation currently, where she's at right now. But she's got a lifestyle, she's got a business that she needs to be able to move, right? She needs to be able to be active. She needs to be able to be nimble, move, and she enjoys it's the thing that she loves doing, but she can see it slipping away if she doesn't make a move, all right, in her fitness. So that's what you kind of discover in a consult. And then you get out into the assessment, and all the things that she talked about really indicated, yeah, she's there. She's got poor mobility. She can move okay, but really struggles to move the way she needs to be able to move. Her strength, certain areas, really discovered through all the 6 movement assessment screens that we do, that she lacks there. She's really got no gym knowledge at all. She comes in and never been in a gym, doesn't know etiquette, doesn't know anything. Where do you start with a person like this?
Well, first thought is, I think you said she runs a business or owns a business, something like that. I
Yeah.
believe you said in there.
She's got a
And it
business where
sounds
she needs to move. She's active.
okay. So I'm thinking a 68-year-old, and honestly have no idea if this is a real person in our gym or not. But I'm thinking this person at 68 years old still seems a little bit fiery. Like she still enjoys the grind. She still enjoys the push. She probably, like, I'm just thinking of the personality, is like, she's like a whippersnapper in there. Like she's coming in, she's doing stuff. She's probably on the go a lot. So I think in the programming, it doesn't sound like I guess I'm saying it doesn't sound like she's a timid clamshell of a person that maybe is intimidated. Maybe she hasn't been in the gym, but it sounds like potentially she has like some fire. Am I right here?
Yeah.
Maybe.
I mean, yeah.
Just based off your description.
Well, yeah.
You're not
No,
68 years old and working a manual labor job if you are a clamshell of a person.
No,
right?
She wants it. She just doesn't. Right.
She can't do it. So I think with programming, this is where I'm thinking someone like that, you have to keep them engaged enough to where they feel the struggle, and it's fun enough to keep their mind engaged in it. And so a 68-year-old person that comes in that's kind of like more sedentary, they don't do a whole lot in life, a program looks much different from them than a person that's 68 and very active. So programming wise, and I don't know what she did in her assessment, but she lacks some mobility. I'm going to guess that she lacks some stability or balance work. So we would address those basic needs. I would say starting out, if she's never been in the gym before, 3 days of full body resistance training, a little bit of building a little bit of aerobic capacity, because it seems like she needs to have endurance in the real world. So we have to put that in there. Most of the time, someone at that age, their balance is usually the the worst thing that we see in the assessment. So when they do their lunge test, usually that's where they struggle the most. And obviously, I don't have her assessment here, but if I had to guess, so I would say build her in 3 days of full body resistance training with emphasis on stability and with a priority of keeping it engaging, because that's my thing is like I can give someone the best program, but if they don't have fun doing it, they're not going to do it anyway. So nobody wins. So it's equal parts what they want and equal parts what they need. So keeping it engaging enough for her that's, maybe doing some fun, more complex movements just to keep her going. A little bit of aerobic capacity build in there. And then I think with those people checking in, because sometimes it's hard to track progress necessarily in the gym. They don't connect it. Like, oh, I did this last week, I'm doing this week. Is like checking in, out, saying, how are you feeling outside of the gym? Have you noticed that you've been able to do things that in work or with kids or grandkids that you haven't been able to do before? Because I feel like that helps them connect what the progress is, because sometimes it's hard to see it in the gym.
I love that. Yeah, I love that. I mean, so here's, I know we talk, and I think, boy, if somebody wants to get into fitness, be healthier, there's all different ways to do that. All different forms of different style gyms, different types of gyms, and things like that. But what I love, I really do, and this is why I came to you years ago and decided to invest my time with you and help people like you're helping people differently, but right, but it's because it is so customized to an individual. Can you imagine? Can you imagine going to a restaurant and everybody has a different palate, and uh,
But you get
there's only
served the
one
same
menu.
meal.
There's the same meal, and
Yeah,
anybody who walks
I'll
in,
never understand it.
right, it has to eat the same meal. Or going to a doctor, right? So you're going to a doctor, and the doctor says, "Well, this is what I prescribe to everybody,"
Mm-hmm.
and they don't figure out what that individual needs. They just say, "No, this is. I'm a doctor. I've got a medical degree. This is what you should do,"
Yeah.
and
Or I
that's it.
view it, you could go on that same route and you look at like a Globo gym style, like a Planet Fitness, right? And that would be along the same lines of you're sick. And so you walk in to a pharmacy and you just have to pick out what it is you're supposed to take without anybody prescribing it to you just because you're sick. It's like, well, do you need like an antihistamine? Do you need a muscle relaxer? Do you like what is it that you need here? It's like you don't know. You're not a doctor, but that's what people do when they go into Planet Fitness. It's like, well, I need to get stronger, so I'll just like do a couple of these things.
Yeah.
uh, or they
Well,
just don't go. They pay a Planet Fitness membership and just don't go to it.
I
But
don't
yeah,
think
that
our client.
68-year-old, if she
Yeah.
went to a group training facility, if she was in there with a 28-year-old and a 30-year-old and a triathlete and a CrossFit athlete and this and that, they're all doing the same damn workout. Even though all she wants to do is like, I don't know, garden or play with her grandkids.
So, so the first thing right off the bat, just even with this first kind of individual, I mean, just the detail and the time taken to understand the individual, right? I think is it's critical. Well, let's go to the other end of the spectrum. I've got a guy that walks into your gym. He thinks he's the shit. He just thinks he's a 30-year-old guy that just is, he does. He looks okay. He looks good. Looks fit. He walks in. He says, I just want to get stronger. I've seen these, maybe people doing these CrossFit types of moves, and he's thinking about maybe wanting to compete. Doesn't know if he can really do it yet. Um, his assessment, though, he does. He moves really well. He wants to challenge himself more. He's done the stuff on his own, but has never really seen big gains, changes in his strength and his endurance. because he'd be that person going to Planet Fitness, looking at all those pieces of equipment out there, and says, "Oh, I'm going to do some bench press, and I'm going to get on the elliptical for a little bit," and he's sitting there going, "Why aren't things moving the way I thought they would move, and why aren't I getting stronger? What would you do, you know?" But here's the other thing about this individual. He's almost annoying to this that he just wants things to happen immediately. No patience. And then he's like that dog in the movie Up, right? Squirrel. Okay, I want to go over here now. And you've not only got to help this person, you got to reel them in. I mean, what would you do with an individual like that?
I love these individuals actually. If you look at some of my client load, there's quite a few of these on there, because these are some of the most fun to work with, and even though they come in and they seem like, physically they have it together, there's so much under the hood and in the mind that we have to work on. So this type of person, I would say, 30-year-old male, a lot of the characteristics are similar. So younger, 20 to 30-year-old males, they usually, especially if they've worked out, they work out, but they neglect lifestyle habits. So nutrition, you like say, well, what about your food? It's like, I can bench press 300 pounds, but it's like I eat chicken fingers and french fries, or I don't go all day without eating, and then I like smash wings and burgers at nighttime. They just eat like a child still. And so usually that's the first thing to address, is like, well, you're never going to do anything in your fitness unless you clean up your lifestyle first. You can't sleep 3 hours a night. You can't go out until 2 a.m. like you used to be able to do. You have to drink water. You have to eat protein. You have to like spread out your meals throughout the day. Like, you have to get some type of exercise other than bench pressing in the gym. So let's start going for walks, and maybe let's do some yoga or stretching outside of the gym, because a 30-year-old male has never done that before. They've never gone for a walk. We'll say 26, because I have a client in mind that's exactly 26, and this was him, and this is very similar. And I also think, so you give them that prescription of like, we're going to tackle food, we're going to tackle hydration, we're going to tackle sleep, because you're not doing anything in my gym until you can do that stuff correctly, because you're just going to hurt yourself. And the next thing would
Let's
be,
pause right there. Let's pause right there just for a second, because I need to emphasize that. I think that is so insightful, because I don't know. I mean, I would believe that now the professional personal trainers, the people that are trained, probably would fall under that kind of
yeah,
recognition and prescription right off the bat. But I would say a lot of people just say, "Oh, you want to get stronger? All right, let's just hit the gym. Let's go at it. Bang, bang, bang." Right? But you've
yeah,
paused a little bit there and really recognized that, yeah, this guy might be able to do the things in the gym I can prescribe from a programming standpoint, but whatever I do we do with that, it's gonna just mosey along until we get the lifestyle corrected. I think that's really cool.
yeah, yeah. So the next thing is, you said, he wants to dabble in like competition. So CrossFit, whatever it may be. Um, so most of those types of people that have done very basic strength training, kind of like that bodybuilding style bro session that these guys have done, they have terrible, terrible mobility. And so it's like, well, you can't do CrossFit if you have terrible mobility. And so that's the first thing that we would have to address, is like actually learning how to do a proper squat, like ass below depth, like we're getting it below our knee crease. That's how we squat. We're not doing quarter squats like you did at the rec center. Bench pressing, we're going to touch our chest and we're going to fully lock our elbows out every single time we bench press. We're not doing the bro reps here. So it's crazy, it's like that person who can probably squat 400 pounds in the rec center, they're going down to 135 because they've never had their ass down that low before. So basically that's like building the mobility, building basic movement mechanics from the beginning, so it's a better foundation for them to start introducing some more of the like explosive movements, whether it's Olympic lifts, whether it's like dynamic gymnastics. I mean, all that stuff is part of CrossFit, but and I think that same person I saw it in a CrossFit gym is like you get these guys coming in there and they're athletes, they can do stuff, but they have like a big shoot up of newbie gains because they have the ability to do this stuff, but then 3 6 months in they have like a major injury. You know, it's like, oh, I tore a rotator cuff, like, oh, I tweaked my knee, and they're out for like months and months or maybe never return because they didn't have the proper foundations first and the basic movement mechanics. Now, granted, like this client of mine is also going to have injuries, and I explain this all the time. We've explained this on a podcast, is because you're doing stuff that's hard. And so injuries can happen or tweaks can happen, but we're not talking like career ending. I say career. It's not like this is a career, but you know what I'm saying? Like a ending injury. It's not, you're not out for 6 months at a time. It's tweaks here or there, but that's just the cost that you pay for doing hard stuff. And I think this person too, I just had this conversation yesterday with another client. And I told him, I said, because he said the workout, he's like, I'm going to be here for 2 hours today. You gave me so much stuff. But this same client, this time last year, was like, hey, by the way, I came into the gym on Sunday and did extra stuff. Hey, I went to this other gym and did extra stuff. And so I told him, I joked with him, and I said, you're like a dog, and like my dog, Walker.
Walkers,
If I
yeah.
leave her out in the living room with no toys, she's going to eat the couch cushion because she's bored. So she just does bad, random stuff that pisses me off. But if I put, right now, there's about 8 different toys out there for her. She'll occupy herself with all those toys and stay focused on those toys. And that's what I told him. I'm like, you're like a dog. If I put enough stuff in your programming that like keeps you guessing, keeps you engaged, keeps you occupied, you quit doing that random stuff that pisses me off that you're not supposed to be doing. And so I said, sometimes, yeah, your workout's going to be longer because you have a ton of accessory stuff, you have a ton of mobility stuff, you're doing like all these things that I'm just keeping you engaged long enough that you don't leave here and go do something else random that's going to hurt you. So that's a lot of the times with this particular client, that's what you have to do. You have to keep them engaged. They're going to just, like you said, they're like a squirrel. It's like, squirrel, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And it's like, well, give them a program that keeps them engaged long enough. Maybe it's you put in a walk or a run or a bike or swim or this and that, so they don't have freaking time to do random shit that they shouldn't be doing.
Yeah. Yeah. So two different types of individuals, but the ability to adapt to each need. And not all the time is it going to be the physical nature of coaching someone. We oftentimes have to, get inside their head and pull them back a little bit. I love that though. I mean, yeah, and watching you with your clients. And now let me just do a little bit of a commercial here. I do not see a difference in your engagement with a 60-year-old, 68-year-old female and a 30-year-old, dog, right? you know, your engagement, you don't notice a difference in, so it's, but, but I do know that each of us have a lane that we really like to be in and fulfills us. But your overall statement from the very beginning is look, I just want to help people improve, whether they're 68 years old or 30 years old, and help them move towards the lifestyle that they want to live. Now let's take this person though. This person is a little bit different. 48-year-old female. She walks into our gym and says, I've messed around with yoga in the past. I've maybe done a little running. Lifting weights has always scared me. It's just, I couldn't walk. I can't even walk into a Globo gym because I just wouldn't know what to do. And it intimidates me. I'm afraid. But here's the thing. I struggle to lose weight. I am not losing weight. I could keep weight off in my 20s and 30s. And now it seems like I can't keep it can't stop it, from increasing. And I need help. I need help. During the
Now, is this
assessment.
person,
Yeah.
go ahead, question
No,
real
go.
fast. Is this person saying that she's tried stuff in the past and it doesn't work, or that she's tried it? Like, is she one of those people that says, I've tried this and I've tried that and I've tried this diet and I've tried this gym and nothing works? Or is it just that she tries, it doesn't stick, or she doesn't feel
Well,
comfortable?
there. So let's more so. She's been afraid to walk into a gym. So that's the
Okay.
biggest thing. She's never wanted to take on resistance training, but she was comfortable maybe with yoga and she was comfortable with running. Yes. The other side of it though is I've tried this diet, I've tried this, and nothing seems to
Yeah.
work.
Okay. I
And
got it.
so I need help. Where do we start with this person?
So, um, this is where you may have to tread a little bit lightly because there's something in here that she doesn't trust. So I would say there's a trust issue, whether it's been with programs, with the diet, with there. She doesn't trust. So I can't just come like maybe the same way. The approach is a little bit different than I maybe would with a 30-year-old like meathead, male meathead, right? You can kind of be more blunt there. So whereas here, maybe not as blunt. I would say I would start with this consult would probably be an hour and a half long because you have to ask a lot of questions because you have to get them to answer their own questions. So she's tried to lose weight and can't lose weight. So we talk about things that she's tried. Okay, how long have you tried it? I would guess, because I've seen this person 100 times, I tried it for 2 months and I lost weight and then I gained it all back. And it's like, okay, all right. How long did you do yoga for? Same thing. 2 months and I didn't like see any results. Okay. Why don't you want to lift weights? Well, I don't want to lift weights because when I lift weights, I gain weight and I don't want to be bulky. Okay, got it. I don't want to be bulky. I want to be toned. I want to get rid of this. I want to be toned. Okay, got it. Um, and we would dive into like the lifting weights, and it's like, okay, I would explain to her in the consult, if you want to lose weight, we've talked about this on the podcast. If you want to lose weight, you have to have more muscle on your body in order to burn more calories. And if you want your body, that's where I pull out the picture sometimes. Would you want to look like this? You want to look like this? She says, I want to look like this. And I said, well, all these people weigh the same. So this person just has more muscle in their body. Try to get her to trust that we need to lift weights. But then it's like this person, they're so focused on body image. I try to shift it away from body image. And it's like, what do you like to do outside of the gym? What do you do for fun? What are hobbies that you do? What's important to you? Is it family? Is it kids? Is it riding your bike? Is it gardening? Is it whatever it may be? And we focus on that. And we say, okay, well, we're going to work on fitness to get you better at those things. Because most of the time, if it's a focus on body image, then it's a lack of confidence. So they want to look better so they can have more confidence because they're probably perimenopausal or in the menopause years. Things are shifting, things are changing, life is changing. They're in a strange spot. But I guarantee if they could build some confidence, even if they don't lose a pound, they're going to feel better about themselves. They're just so tied to weight loss. So someone who is a programming standpoint, someone who has never lifted weights, I can't just say, here, go pick up the 53-pound kettlebell. I have to show that we can do things that don't involve big, intimidating weights. Maybe they don't touch a barbell for the first 8 weeks, right? They are doing body weight stuff. They're doing banded stuff. And they say, wow, I actually feel pretty good. I can do all this stuff. And then we introduce a little bit more. And then we say, hey, do you remember week 1? You were doing an air squat to the box, and now you're doing a goblet squat with a 35-pound kettlebell. And they're like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm like, and guess what? You're doing your resistance training this whole time. You thought it was so big and scary, and you thought people were going to be throwing barbells over their head, and it's like, no, that's not actually what we're doing at all. And I think the same thing with that person is trying to deflect the conversation in a consult into positives. So that person in a consult, I'm not gonna, the very first question, I'm not gonna say, how much weight did you lose? What's your body fat percentage, right? It's like, what cool stuff have you done outside of the gym recently? And they say, I'm just thinking of an example of a client. Well, I went for a bike ride with my kids. I haven't been able to do that in 10 years. And it's like, oh, that's cool. Like, did that feel good? Yeah, that felt good, right? Like my kids thought it was really cool. And so you kind of just deflect. I think a lot of those people, it's not necessarily about the programming itself. I think it is, but it's about the conversations and the way that you organize the conversations around achievements to build confidence, because that's ultimately what they're searching for.
I think that's interesting. And what I so here this person walks in and they are right. They're thinking of body image. And a lot of people would think, well, yeah, let's talk about body image. And then when you meet with them a month down the road and do that, maybe that first monthly consult, and you're reviewing what took place this first, 30 days, and how are we doing, and what are the changes you're feeling. Some people might go right to that in body, right? And right to that thing and point to a number. And what does that do? It keeps them focused on the one thing that's held them back for many, many years, and that's that body image. Instead, you've taken that 30 days of what they've done and said, okay, how's life going? What are you able to do today that maybe you struggled with doing, before you walked in here? How
Yeah.
cool is that? And
And
I
I
so
think
I think
that's
that's
probably where so you can always, like, that's, I don't want to say a red flag, but like alarming to me when someone comes in to a consult, like you said, and they've tried this, they've tried that, they did this diet, they did that. And it's like, because there's not a greater purpose connected to it, that's why it didn't last. It's like, if you're eating in a way that makes you feel good outside of the gym and the things that you do, and it fuels you and it makes you feel like, what it feels like when you're energized because you ate good food. You feel good about the things you ate versus just like, I'm only eating this because it makes me lose weight. I'm only eating this much because it makes me lose weight. Your willpower runs out. And that's why, and same thing, if you're going to yoga classes and the sole purpose of you going to yoga classes is to get exercise, to lose weight, you're going to get tired of that. So whereas with us, you can get a bigger commitment from someone if it's connected to something bigger than a aesthetic goal. And most of the time, when you connect it to something bigger than an aesthetic goal, the aesthetic goal takes care of itself. It's like, oh shit, the next thing you know, I lost 20 pounds. I didn't even realize it because I'm too busy over here celebrating riding my bike.
yeah, yeah, and enjoy life, with the kids or or your parents or whatever it might be, right? And I think too is there's this other aspect of it, especially with those that do have kids, right? Is modeling, and just modeling that lifestyle, that behavior, that their kids can see, and that. Oh, yeah, last one
Okay.
today. All right, 50-year-old male. It's got a belly.
Huh?
Likes to sit down
I'd
and
say
drink
quit
beer
drinking beers on
with his
Friday
buddies.
night.
He's got that, okay, and that, the quotes, what is it? I don't know, what's that thing that quote?
Dad bod.
Well, yes, he's got the dad bod,
Oh.
right? Uh, but in his 20s and 30s, he was a gym rat. He hit it hard, right? And pretty, was looked pretty good, felt pretty good, right? Was and but was aesthetically driven, just aesthetically driven. But now he's matured a little bit, but also the career and family has kind of taken place from the gym, and now he's just totally out of shape, and doesn't necessarily, okay, right now, so doesn't necessarily want to get back to that 20s and 30s, although it's in the back of his mind, why can't I do the things I used to be able to do? But really sees through that maturity, sees that, look, I can't go in the backyard and play with my kids more than 10 minutes before I am having to take a rest and pull out the beer. All right. It's so
Yeah.
core is shot. during the assessment, just the core is just shy. He can't do anything, right? Nothing's there. Mobility, average, but he just wants to be able to move with his kids again, and really is starting to realize that at 50 years old, if this is how I feel today, how am I going to feel at 60? How am I going to feel at 70? Hell, will I make it to 80? So he's not necessarily wanting to be that athlete again. He just wants to be able to move and be healthy.
Yeah. Okay. So with this person, I think the first goal is to set the sights forwards and stop looking backwards. So this happens with that age male all the time. I mean, every consult is like, well, I used to play football. I used to do this. I used to bench press this. I used to run this. And it's like, okay, sometimes it's like, I am fully honest and I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to tell you right now, you're not going to do those things ever again. But what we are going to do is we're going to look at, instead of looking at 15, 20 years ago, we're going to look at 15, 20 years ahead. And where do you want to be then? What are the things that you want to be doing then? So right now, what are things that you can't do and you want to do that you, and it, you know, it could be a short period of time, next year, 5 years. We're always looking forwards, not looking backwards anymore. And sometimes I think it just, you have to be honest with people, and you just have to get them to untether themselves from their past selves. Is like, that's not you anymore. That's not your whole life is different now. So we can't be chasing a goal when you didn't have kids, when you didn't have a career, when you didn't have a wife, and that was different. Like, your whole life's different. So but this is where, similar to like the 68-year-old woman, is like, he has it in his brain still. So he has that push. He has that thought. This isn't someone who hasn't worked hard before. This isn't someone who hasn't done cool shit in the past. He has it. So that's where in programming is like, yeah, maybe you're throwing in some stuff that maybe doesn't benefit him necessarily physically right now, but it's enough to be like, give him a little bit of that youth spark back. Like, wow, like that was pretty cool that I did that. Or wow, like, where, and I'd say it to, I am thinking of a client specifically, is like, I tell him, you do know that this isn't making you any fitter, right? Like, this is like pure like fun and
Ego.
enjoyment, and yeah, and doing cool stuff, because it's like fun to see that, and it keeps you engaged. But the basis of the programming is setting it up to where he can do those things in the future. So if it's playing with kids, maybe we're working on like single leg stability, getting up and down. We're working on endurance. Maybe he's chasing something outside, like, but we can structure the program in a way of, maybe it's like mixed modalities, because someone like this has a higher training age. So they have the competency to perform like a mixed modality. So it could be 30 minutes of things that are moving and doing resistance training, doing some aerobic work, doing some gymnastic, body weight work, and it keeps them engaged, but it's still working on the overall goal.
Yeah.
These are clients that are fun, because you can keep the main goal, but you can kind of throw things at them. It's like a sticky board. Is like, you throw it and you're like, is this gonna stick? I don't know. I do that sometimes with these people. Is like, oh, that was really cool that they did that, and then you can see their like they light up, because they're like, oh shit, I can still do that, or
Yeah.
that's really cool. And I think with programming, these people you can be a little bit more creative with. I really like programming because you can play. They have the capabilities. You have to obviously build a foundation back up, but usually it doesn't take long and things get uncovered. A lot of the times with these people, it's more in their brain than it is in their body. They think like, I can't do this stuff. I haven't done it. But then once you start introducing it, a lot of times it comes back fairly quickly. And then that's where I can be creative in programming and give them different splits, right? I can give them different different rep schemes that are a little off the wall that a newbie wouldn't have. We can go to like, we can use rate of perceived exertion. We can use like two failure reps. We can do like reps in reserve, stuff like that, because they get it. They've probably done it and they know what their body feels like.
Mm. So I thought I could, well, I knew first off, okay, I knew I couldn't stump you. I mean, there was just no way. Just from your experience and the types of people that you've worked with. Well, you're currently, I think you've got. We didn't even talk about this type of client, but you've got a couple high school kids that are even, one's rehabbing and but wants to get back, or no, that's even middle school, for crying out loud. So you've got that end of the spectrum where you're training people that are competing, and you've got experience with 60, 70. Heck, you got, what is he, 78, 76 now? I mean, he
Yeah,
walks in the gym
78.
well, he has his own time that he comes in the morning, just to
He has the
be
six
truthful.
o'clock time.
Yeah. But there's another individual. We didn't even talk about that type of individual. So it was really, really hard to stump you. And I knew I wouldn't be able to stump you. So it was kind of like when you challenged me to lose weight. You already knew you were going to freaking win. All right. It was just a matter of just going through the motions. But but here's what I noticed throughout our conversation today, and this is why I think it's just really cool and valuable, and I hope our audience sits out there and listens to this. And if you're not part of us, if you're not part of OPEX and our gym, and you've been struggling for a while, and that you kind of understand that we don't just throw a blanket over people, and just we really get into the weeds and try to find out what this person's all about, what they can do, what they can't do, and then we slowly help them, become the person that they want to become. And I think it's just it's I think it's not unique, but maybe it is unique to the way we do things.
Well, yeah, I
Um,
think that's the thing is like, if you're one, you just said if you're not a client listening to this, I would say if you are a client listening to this, this is the time to be very proud, and I would say grateful that you do have this opportunity, because in Morgantown, I mean, yeah, you go to bigger cities, you'll find it. In Morgantown, this isn't regular. This individualized programming that's not personal training that costs $60-$70 per hour, this is unique. And so I think that our people like should pat themselves on the back before choosing this, and then also like realize how it's done, like how the thought process is as coaches, what goes into this in every program that's written. Because I don't think that people have the true awareness around what they're getting and how we think about giving a program, because it's not templated. There are no templates. Like it is all organically written. Granted there are crossovers on things because people do have
sure.
similar interests, similar goals, similar body types, similar weaknesses. So there's crossover, but there's not one day that I go in and click template this person, right? It's all written, and you can tell from my programming because there's a lot of typos in there that that's what I always say. I'm like, well, at
Yes,
least you
there
know
are
that I
some.
didn't copy and paste it from somewhere because I just spelled every word wrong.
Yeah, yeah. There's no video here. Why is there no video for this exercise? Well, I don't know. It's a ropo. I don't know what that is. Oh
Uh,
gosh. Hey, so yeah, I do. I no, I think that's a great point. I think but we have some really good clients, that
yeah,
that embrace what we prescribe, and just love the way that they attack it. When you've got someone that was really unsure, and now they're out running 5Ks, and they're doing things. Lauren has a client that is you know came in down in Bridgeport, and has done some stuff before. I mean, really, she came in, but injuries has kind of limited her to begin with, so she was kind of shy and nervous getting back into it. Lauren has been able to kind of guide her along the way, and now, a year down the road, she's doing things that she probably never thought she'd be doing, at this point in her life. So, and that's our ability to just connect with people and keep them inspired and keep them engaged through those things that you talked about. But everybody's different, and everybody needs to be pushed and motivated and trained differently. I think that's what helps us continue to serve people the way we want. So that's our conversation for today. I'm again, I'm glad I didn't bet any money on this, challenge, being able to stump you. My wife still doesn't know about, unless she's listening, she still doesn't know about the last one. But anyhow, thank you for
Thank you.
just,
Good
I
good
think,
questions.
yeah, well, this is what walks into our gym, right?
Mhm.
And this is what's out in our community. And
Right.
I can't help it. I was talking with somebody yesterday, and I said, I can't help. And it was really cool. It's the word judgment. It's never, never, never. I never judge people. I've been on this earth too long, and I've seen too many people throughout my life look at another individual and think they know who they are and think they understand what's going on inside their head and all of that stuff. And so when I walk around the community and I see different people, I don't judge them in a way that, oh my gosh, look at them. I'm going, oh, if they can only meet us, if they can only understand how we can help people. And I just, oh my gosh, I just can't believe why our gym just doesn't have a waiting list to get in, because there's so many people out there that could use what we deliver. That's all. That just frustrates me sometimes.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
Anyhow. All right, think about what we
Okay.
want to talk about next week. We'll figure it out the night before, and and we'll hopefully engage our audience to think about life differently. Thanks, kid. See you next
Thanks.
week.
See ya.